What's good, family? Welcome back to the channel. So most of us know about the chemical spill that happened in Ohio. It's very toxic. People had to evacuate, and the only way that they could try to get rid of it is by burning it. This was all caused by a train that derailed in Ohio, okay? Now, I come to find out there's a movie named White Noise, which is on Netflix, that was filmed in Ohio. That the plot of the movie is literally a train that derails and releases toxic chemicals that was released in 2022. Y'all think it's coincidence, or do y'all think a situation like this was planned? Let's come right over here. This is the plot of the movie White Noise. This is college professor Jack Glandy and his family's comfortable suburban life is upended when a nearby chemical leak causes the airborne toxic event, releasing a noxious black cloud over the region that forces the Gladney family to evacuate. Now keep in mind, this wasn't only a chemical leak as the plot, but an airborne toxic event that releases a black cloud over the environment, which was also filmed in Ohio. It says right here, the movie set filming location all around Ohio. And now we come into 2023, and that same exact plot with the exact chemical spill by the exact cause of a train derailment in the black cloud. Let's take a look at this film.
Let's watch a sitcom or something.
No! They're calling it the Airborne toxic event.
They won't come this way.
Will we have to leave our home?
Of course not.
How do you know?
I just know.
On February 3rd, about 50 train cars, including several carrying hazardous materials, derailed and later burst into flames, forcing almost half the town to evacuate. Now, fortunately, no one was killed, but to prevent an explosion, officials conducted a controlled release of toxic chemicals, sending a massive dark cloud of toxic fumes billowing across the small town.
Everything completely aligns at this point. This is the point in time where we need to wake up. We need to recognize that there's specific people controlling certain events that happen for the average person's destruction. If you guys don't know, a lot of our water is being fluoridated. What does fluorine do? It actually calcifies our pineal gland. And now this is just a very extreme case of it happening where they're purposely intoxicating the water. Water is very, very important to our living. Look at this. I just really want to emphasize on this also. This is the airborne toxic event releasing a black cloud over the region. And I also came across this video right here where it's a black cloud over the region.
This was a photo that was taken from a passenger plane that was flying over or just near East Palestine, Ohio. And it's the chemical fire after the train crash. And that doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good at all. It looks like exactly what was predicted to happen in the movie White Noise, yeah. So now we have to think, how many other events that just seem to be somewhat of an accident, 2020, and a lot of other events in the past that actually weren't an accident but were planned by people that want to control, by people that want to keep us lower. So let's get into this compilation right here. Ohio chemical spill was planned by Satan.
A train carrying the highly toxic chemical vinyl chloride derailed and exploded near the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. To prevent a more dangerous explosion, the crew then had to add and burn more toxic chemicals. This created a highly toxic gas that can cause vomiting and breathing troubles and was used as a weapon in the First World War. Huge side effects from burning these toxic chemicals are seen from the wildlife and residents in Ohio. Thousands of fish are found dead, pets are falling sick, and local residents, when returning to Ohio, have reported breathing difficulties and symptoms of asthma. Investigations into why the train derailed show that there was an ineffective oversight by the industry and that the industry has been putting record profits over safety for years. On top of this, train drivers have been warning the government and striking to prevent this kind of horrific accident from happening.
The train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio is a tragic event that is not being spoken about nearly enough. This is a true ecological and environmental disaster that will have long-term effects spanning for decades. Large increases in multiple types of cancers, tainted water sources, and much more.
Okay, so I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. which is about 280 miles.
So we learned that from this one chemical spill, there's going to be an increase in cancers, which means what? There's going to be an increase in medical bills.
West of where the train derailment happened in East Palestine. But I noticed the other day that my water was looking kind of funny, so I wanted to share it. And I'm just going to rinse this bowl out so you know I got no funny business. I tried using a clear glass, but you can just see it so much better with a black background. All right, so we can all agree this bowl's nice and clean, right? Nice and rinsed out. All right, I'm just going to fill it up using hot water. All right, give it a second. What is that sheen on top of the water?
Oh, I see that.
Like I said, this is Cincinnati, Ohio, 280 miles southwest of East Palestine.
Wow. The streams travel. Chemicals are going to travel.
The train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio is a tragic event that is not being spoken about.
Oh, her coffee just sizzled.
The train derailment in East Palestine.
Chemical engineer, but I really think the government is hiding how bad the chemical spill is in Ohio. Like, I really don't think all the rivers should be empty of fish just floating downstream and like all the animals just like passing out from breathing the air.
So I walked up to the cage, and this is what I found. Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
So a couple days ago, over 50 trains derailed in a small town in Palestine, Ohio, dumping hundreds of gallons of toxic chemicals into the earth, most notably vinyl chloride, which is used to make plastics. For environmental reasons, this is bad because the chemicals can seep into the water systems of the city. So what was the government's bright idea? Oh, let's burn the shit and release it into the air so it doesn't poison anyone. And oh, don't worry, they were nice enough to tell everybody within a 1-mile radius to evacuate.
Following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her bird's sudden death. My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died.
So the EPA sent a bunch of scientists to observe the air quality around the area, and everybody's like, oh yeah, shit's fine. Except everybody, when they got back to their homes, discovered their pets and animals had fucking died. This guy's poor dog went back to his house, and all of a sudden he started coughing really hard and just shut down and started like having diarrhea everywhere. But the government stance to this day is still, oh yeah, everything's fucking fine.
If we can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what's going to do to us in 20 years. Yeah. Officials have said that the smell wasn't toxic or dangerous, but still advised people in the Mahoning Valley to stay indoors Monday night as a precaution. For them to say the air quality is okay, I'm calling BS. I'm going to be taking my birds to the vet to have them examined, because if this is the cause of their burn, they're being held responsible.
So this Ohio train disaster has pointed out some frightening realities about living in the United States, and I wanted to talk about just a few of them that I find the most disturbing. The first one is I'm hearing that Norfolk Southern actually went around the community where the train derailed and told people they would test their water for free as long as they signed a waiver, and this waiver makes it impossible for the citizens who signed to sue the company. Which is wild to think about because the EPA and everyone else in the area says that it's safe for people to live, but animals are dying, plant life is dying, people are seeing weird things in the water. And you can see the chemicals in the water, in people's tap water. People are talking about rain smelling like chlorine. Air quality index reports show that the air quality is safe, but people are experiencing something that's quite a bit different. So it's like, not only is the railroad company hedging themselves and protecting themselves legally, but government agencies seem to not be interested in protecting residents either. Like, where's the EPA on this? Why isn't anybody getting arrested? And actually, the people that wind up getting arrested, if anybody is, it's going to be the workers, not the people who are responsible for overworking them, underpaying them, understaffing the teams and crews that were trying to unionize before all of this happened. The other really disturbing thing about this is that nobody's reporting on this entire thing. It's almost exclusively TikTok and Twitter that's carrying this story because Fox won't report on it, CNN won't report on it. When they do, it's very minimal coverage. And I guess that makes sense when you consider that 30% of Norfolk Southern, the company that caused this whole crash to happen, the ones that are responsible, they're owned primarily by BlackRock and Vanguard, the two largest stakeholders in this company. They're both hedge funds. And incidentally, CNN, which is owned by Warner Discovery, and Fox News, which is owned by Disney, Vanguard and BlackRock are the two major shareholders in both of those companies. So the people that have a majority shareholder
Just
stake...
real quick, just seeing how all the biggest businesses in the world are actually linked up, they're on the same team for the same agenda. And they're being influenced by something beyond them, spiritually.
And the railroad that derailed also have a majority stake in the media companies that would be reporting on it. The other thing that I've been thinking about that just is so disturbing to consider is preppers have always gotten this bad rap. They've been written off as the crazy people, storing up food in case of a doomsday apocalypse, and everybody just assumes that that's not going to happen because society is going to break down very quickly, and you're not actually going to be able to eat your food that you prepped with because raiders are going to come and take it all. But the reality is those are the only people that are prepared for this, because we have no idea how this is going to affect us long term. And it's going to get into our food because most of the grains are produced in that area. And this time next year, all of the grains that come up during this growing season are going to be in the cereal, they're going to be in the bread, they're going to be in everything. And it's going to take a decade, maybe more, for all of the cancers that will cause to show in the population. And the only way to avoid it is if you've been stockpiling food for decades. These people that are prepared to be able to weather this storm, whether they're in Ohio or not, they're the same people that we've all, the mainstream media included, have called crazy. And they might be the only people who actually have the ability to insulate themselves from this ecological disaster. And the thing that makes me the most angry is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's responsible for this, because nobody's going to be held accountable. And it just blows my mind because Gen Z is too young to remember this, but pre-2008, it really felt like America was the land of the free, where anybody could build their fortune, where people could just live a simple life and be left alone. But after the financial collapse and the US government bailed out all the very people who caused that, it's been crisis after crisis after crisis, where it sure feels like it's the American government allied with capitalists against the population of the United States. And this is just another event that makes that feel more real than ever. And that alliance usually manifests itself in a media that's difficult or impossible to trust, or information that's impossible to find. And the truth just is virtually non-existent. We don't know what the truth is ever, because it's almost always twisted to make these agencies or groups or corporations or government officials look better than they actually are. And I have no idea what the answer to all of this is. I don't know if there's a way out for any of us, except for the people at the top that are already running the system. What do we do?
Man, he could not have hit it more on the nose, y'all. Because he's explaining the truth is always going to be twisted. Whatever is put on the news is either going to be bad news or very, very twisted news, twisted truth. And this is why we need to come to a point in our life. It's like, what is the truth? What's really running this world? What's happening with this world on a deeper level? And this is why, for me, I found a lot of my truth within the Bible, because it explains the good and the bad of things and how to look at the world from a logical, but not only a logical point, but a very clear point of view, to understand what's really going on in this world and to not be confused or worried. Because as he's saying, a lot of us may think, oh, our politicians are completely for us. Yeah, that's the picture they may paint. That's the picture that they may paint. But I'm at the point in my life, it's like, I know God is for me, and that's just the fact, so I'm going to focus on that. You know what I'm saying? I understand that the perfect creator of this universe is for me. So whatever they're doing in this world right now, to possibly try to harm me, to possibly try to control me, to possibly try to confuse me, God is for me. You feel what I'm saying? So let me focus on that. And as you guys can see, there's just many, many events that are happening to actually harm us people. That's, in this instance right here, it should be clear that there was some sort of planning towards this event. Because now when it comes to all the chemicals that are released in the water, we just watched the entire video of how toxic the chemicals are. And he just explained how water is needed to grow plants. It needs water and sunlight. So this toxic water is also going to be going into the crops that are around Ohio. and all the other states around that area, because water does travel in rivers and streams and everything like that. So those toxic chemicals are actually spreading, as we saw from someone that was in Cincinnati, and he was explaining that was 280 miles away from the spill, but he still was receiving the effects from that. And now once all these crops are being put together and distributed throughout the U.S., it's also going to have an effect on the people much further from Ohio. So it's a crazy situation, and it's very interesting how it's not being talked about on the major news outlets, like they said on CNN and the other one, Fox News, and things like that. It's very interesting, you guys. So comment down below what you guys think about this, and also the White Noise movie that perfectly depicts the exact situation that happened just a month ago. That was released in 2022, talking about the chemical leak that causes the airborne toxic event and releasing a black cloud over the region that causes people to evacuate. That was also filmed in Ohio. What are your thoughts on this situation, guys? Make sure you stay safe. I love you guys. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on post notifications. Peace. I love ya.